A long time ago in the land of Okigwe, there lived an eligible bachelor named Ikenna. Ikenna was the dream of every young lady in town. With his handsome face, enchanting smile, well-built body, and enormous wealth from his fruitful harvest every season. Now wow, guy, how many of the ladies you go come marry? Ebuka, Ikenna's best friend, teased as they both walked to the farm carrying their tools. Ikenna pretended to be ignorant. Ladies kwa? Which ladies? His lips betrayed him when they began to curve into a smile. Ebuka caught him. Hey, na so? Ask me again. They both laughed, their hands crossed over each other's shoulders. But on a serious note, I'm not ready for marriage, Joe, Ikenna said as he recovered from the laughter. Ebuka, with his brows raised, replied, Guy, ready or not, every lady dey on your matter. They worked all afternoon on the farm, staking crops, watering plants, weeding the farm, and making jokes about everything. First, they laughed over the girl that brought Ikenna lunch the previous day. Ebuka almost cried from laughter as he recounted the way a girl changed her step from catwalk to fishwalk when she saw them that morning. As they packed up to return home, Ikenna went further into the bush to pee. Ouch! Ebuka, Ikenna screamed. Ebuka ran to the scene to find him on the ground, holding his left leg. Ogini, what is it? Ebuka inquired. I was bitten twice. Agwo, a black snake, Ikenna cried. Ebuka tore a piece of his clothing and tied Ikenna's leg. He lifted Ikenna on his shoulders and hurried to the herbalist who handled treatments and herb prescriptions. When they got to his hut, he was unavailable. His 7-year-old son told them his father would return later and they could wait. But Ebuka saw how quickly the poison spread, weakening Ikenna and caused 2 huge swells on his leg. He knew Ikenna would not survive the wait. There was only one option left in the village, Onwa, the town's spiritual healer. Onwa handled more serious cases than mere snake bites. She was the mediator between the people of Okigwe and their ancestors. Onwa was a jaw-dropping beautiful woman in her 40s who succeeded her father in the devotion to the moon goddess. Her father named her after the moon because he believed her beauty was as subtle and brightening like the moon. She was never married or with child because no man ever thought he could measure up to her standard or live beneath her powers and influence. Ikenna had lost consciousness when Ebuka got to Onwa's hut. He laid Ikenna in front of the hut and called out, Onwa, Onwa oh. When she ran out, he began, Biko, save him. Please save Ikenna, I beg you. Onwa saw the large swells on his legs and how pale his skin had gotten. But something about his body, face, lips intrigued her. Ebuka carried Ikenna into the hut as asked by Onwa. She took a basket of herbs and tried to feed Ikenna with a concoction that could neutralize the poison, but it hardly went into his system. She palpated his wrist and analyzed the color of his skin and found out he was dying, as the poison had affected all his organs. She tried all she could, but Ikenna gave up the ghost. When Onwa watched his corpse, it broke her in a way she couldn't articulate. Ebuka was out of control with pain. He just couldn't accept what had happened. Everything was just too sudden, and he wept like a broken child. Onwa yearned to save Ikenna. Her heart didn't accept his death. Whoever he was, I want the chance to know him, she thought to herself. Onwa knelt before Ikenna, laid her hands on him. With her eyes closed, she implored on the moon goddess to give him life. She poured her heart out in incantations as tears flowed down her face to his skin. The sky suddenly turned dark like it was already night. The moon appeared, full, bright and red. Ebuka was transfixed, not sure how to react to the changes that went on. A strong wind whirled in the hut, blowing Onwa's brilliant long black hair with grace and around the hut, causing vibrations. Thunder rumbled in the sky. The close contact with Onwa's powers terrified Ebuka. Then she stopped and smiled. Everything went back to normal. The moon disappeared, the wind was gone, and Ikenna was breathing again. She thanked the moon goddess for honoring her request. Ebuka knelt down before her and expressed his gratitude, and she made him promise not to tell anyone about what he had seen. When Ikenna opened his eyes and met Onwa's face, he was enthralled. Maybe it was her golden skin or the perfect curls that rested on her shoulders. Ebuka rushed into a hug and brought him out of the spell-bounded state with Onwa's beauty. "Thank you so much, goddess. Dalu rinne," Ebuka cried as he hugged Ikenna. "Goddess," Ikenna mouthed. That was the perfect word for the beauty he had just beheld. Ikenna's wounds were treated by Onwa, and she asked him to return daily for the wound dressing till it was completely healed. She knew that the wound would heal on its own with the life of the moon goddess breathing within Ikenna, but she wanted many more chances to see him again. Ikenna returned the next day with a basket of food and fabrics to express his gratitude to Onwa. Onwa thought of confessing her strange feelings to Ikenna, but she was scared of what he would think of her, especially if he wasn't interested. She respected her office as a spiritual healer and saved herself the disgrace. Ikenna was in chaos. All he could think about was Onwa, but he wasn't sure how she would take it. He wondered if she could be the one, if he could approach her and spill his true intentions, and he worried she was going to turn him down since she occupied such sacred office in the village. Very early one morning, before the third cock crew, Ikenna got himself ready and strolled off to Onwa's house. She was shocked to see him at her place that early. He always came for his treatments, but not so early. She asked him if he had come early so that he could attend to other important activities later, but Ikenna said that he was free for the day. Onwa started administering herbal treatments to Ikenna's wound. She was being careful not to make the treatment more painful. Ikenna couldn't stop himself from staring at her. Onwa was suspicious of his constant visits, despite the fact his wounds were healing fast, but she liked it. She wanted him to spend the whole day with her, but she always kept it professional, avoiding his gaze, as she never trusted her eyes to not give her feelings away. "Does it hurt?" Onwa asked Ikenna as she applied the herbs. He watched her intensely. "Your fingers on my skin are magical," he said. Ikenna wasn't sure but was willing to take a chance. His reply made her pause, and she avoided his gaze and then continued without a word. "All I ever think about is you, Onwa," he continued. "I have lost my mind and I love this madness." Onwa blushed. She was happy he felt the same way. "I see. So someone has been faking his illness and wasting my herbs, eh?" she asked and looked at him sweetly. "You knew I was fine all along," he said with a cunning smile. They both laughed. He took her left hand and squeezed it softly as they gazed into each other's eyes, not afraid to show their emotions. Ikenna began to spend more of his days with her, and they always spoke at length about everything, from his experience at the farm to special ingredients for medicines. When Ebuka found out about Ikenna and Onwa's relationship, he was worried because Onwa was way older than Ikenna. The news of their relationship was not favorably accepted. Everyone wondered why Ikenna, the most sought-after bachelor, would want someone old enough to be his mother. His mother, Udrego, didn't accept it. "That woman is my age mate. If this is madness, I cast and bind it," she shouted at Ikenna. Udrego suspected that her son had been placed under a spell by Onwa. So she went to Onwa's hut. When Onwa saw her, she greeted her and waited, thinking she needed her help as a healer. But Udrago knelt down and started begging her to leave her son alone and to break the spell she had placed on him. Onwa was so embarrassed and went inside without saying a word. Akudi, Ikenna's father, struggled a bit with his son's decision because it surprised him. But he was a man who always thought Ikenna to be decisive. A true man to Akudi was a man who could articulate what he wants. He was convinced Ikenna was serious about Onwa, so he gave his approval and even joked about how he was 11 years older than Udrago, his wife. Ikenna, if she makes you happy and you are sure, then carry on. As for your mother, leave her to me. Ikenna always appreciated his father's understanding and happily went to see Onwa. Onwa refused to visit Ikenna's parents with him when he invited her. But she never mentioned the incidents with his mother. Ikenna was hot and confused. After he left, she packed up her things and left the village. For many weeks, Ikenna searched for Onwa in all the neighboring villages. Rumors went about that he was losing his mind. His mother got very worried because he didn't care about coming home or going to his farm. All he did was search for Onwa. She went to a spiritual seer in a neighboring town to find a solution to her son's obsession with Onwa. She couldn't believe her ears when she heard that the only reason Ikenna was still alive was because the moon goddess gave life to him, and this made him drawn to Onwa. The seer said their union was ordained by the moon. She got scared when she was told that both of them were soulmates and that without Onwa, her son would never be the same again. Udrago confirmed the story with Ebuka's recount of what had happened that day. Ebuka apologized for not telling them about all that happened that day because Onwa instructed not to mention the part of bringing back Ikenna to life to anyone. Udrago and Ebuka told the story to the people of Okigwe, and everyone tried to help in every way to find the two lovers. Collectively, the people of Okigwe offered prayers to the moon to reunite the two lovers. On the night of the first moon of the year, Ikenna found Onwa in a secluded hut in the forest. He was so happy to see her, and she replied, "I have been waiting for you." Ikenna just buried himself in her embrace. "And they are waiting for us too at Okigwe," she continued. They both returned to Okigwe and had the biggest wedding that had ever been recorded in the history of Okigwe. Ikenna and Onwa lived happily together for the rest of their lives.